trade war. Two simple words, yet in 2025 they define one of the most consequential economic rivalries in modern history. The world's two largest economies, the United States and China, are locked in a battle not just over tariffs or trade deficits, but over the future of global power. While Washington declares victory after every negotiation round, the numbers and the strategy behind them tell a different story. Because quietly, methodically, China isn't losing, it's adapting, it's redirecting, it's worse enough, redirecting's winning. In this Talk Maniac deep dive, we'll uncover how China turned America's trade pressure into fuel for transformation, and what that means for the next decade of global economics. Let's rewind. The trade war didn't start yesterday. It began in 2018 under Donald Trump's first term. Tariffs soared, and America tried to rebalance trade with China, a country it accused of unfair practices and technology theft. Fast forward to 2025. Trump is back in the White House, Xi Jinping remains in Beijing, and the rivalry has matured into something far beyond tariffs. This is no longer a trade dispute, it's an industrial, technological, and geopolitical war. In this second round, the stakes are higher. The US wants to reclaim manufacturing dominance, reshore production, and isolate China technologically. But China has moved up the value chain, from cheap factory floors to the beating heart of global technology. Batteries, EVs, AI, and semiconductors. Academic data shows the paradox. The more America tries to cut China out, the more China embeds itself elsewhere, in Asia, Africa, Latin America, building new dependencies, new customers, and new leverage. So before we decide who's winning, let's ask, what do the numbers say? Because in economics, rhetoric fades, but numbers don't. 1. Exports and trade flows. In September 2025, Chinese exports to the US dropped nearly 27%, down from $47 billion to $34.3 billion. Sounds bad, right? But here's the twist. China's overall exports rose by 8.3% that same month, meaning it lost ground in the US market, but more than compensated elsewhere. Interpretation: China didn't retreat, it rerouted. 2. Diversification. Take agriculture. For years, China relied on US soybeans and beef. But in 2025, Beijing slashed US imports to zero soybeans in September and replaced them with Brazil and Argentina. It's not surrender, it's substitution. China rewired its supply chains to eliminate US leverage. 3. Tariffs and rare earths. Then came the Busan meeting on October 30, 2025. Trump and Xi met, the first high-level handshake since 2019. The result, the US agreed to lower average tariffs on Chinese goods from 57% to 47%. In exchange, China paused its planned export curbs on rare earths, critical metals for US defense and tech. Interpretation: the US needed relief. China had leverage, and used it. So how did China turn American pressure into progress? Let's break down the strategy behind Beijing's quiet endurance. 1. Self-reliance. Push China doubled down on domestic innovation, building chip foundries, EV giants, and AI startups. Government policy redirected funds into Made in China 2025 goals. The same strategy that once triggered the US backlash. Each sanction became a lesson, each ban became motivation. While America tried to isolate China technologically, China built its own ecosystem. 2. Market diversification. Beijing expanded south and west, deepening trade with ASEAN, Africa, and Latin America. Meanwhile, US companies practiced China Plus One, moving production to Vietnam or Mexico, but most of these factories still depend on Chinese-made components. In other words, you can move the factory, but not the supply chain. 3. Strategic patience. China's approach? Wait, endure, adapt. By absorbing early economic pain, it strengthened long-term independence. While the US fought a short political battle, China played a generational one. 4. Rare earth leverage. And let's not forget the minerals under the surface. China controls nearly 70% of global rare earth processing, materials essential for fighter jets, wind turbines, and smartphones. The message to Washington is clear: you can tariff our goods, but not our minerals. Now, what about the United States? The intention behind the trade war was clear: to bring manufacturing home, punish China, and restore American competitiveness, but the reality has been complicated. 1. Tariff costs. Tariffs are a tax, not on China, but on American importers and consumers. U.S. prices for electronics, machinery, and basic goods rose. Inflation stayed stubbornly high, forcing Washington to quietly scale back some tariffs in 2025. Farmers felt it too. China, once America's largest soybean buyer, cut purchases dramatically. The Midwest, once Trump's loyal base, began to feel the pinch. 2. Supply chain reality. America's factories can't run without Chinese inputs, from microchips to magnets. Reshoring is expensive and slow, and according to several defense studies, China still dominates 57 out of 64 critical emerging technologies, leaving the US ahead in only 7. 3. Political pressures. The 2026 midterms loom large. Inflation fatigue is real, and that one-year truce signed after Busan, it's less a victory and more a timeout. Washington knows it can't sustain high tariffs indefinitely without political fallout. This isn't just a US-China duel, it's reshaping global trade itself. The WTO warns that a full US-China decoupling could shrink global GDP by up to 7%, a hit bigger than the 2008 financial crisis. But here's the irony: even as companies flee China, they end up in China's orbit. China plus one countries like Vietnam and Mexico are booming, but they still import raw materials, chips, or machinery from China. The dependency simply moved down the map. Meanwhile, China's Belt and Road partners in Africa and Asia continue deepening trade ties. Beijing's influence expands not through warships or speeches, but through ports, factories, and fiber cables. So who's winning? The US wanted separation. What it got is entanglement, only more complex, more global, and harder to reverse. Let's take a step back. What does it really mean to win a trade war? For China, winning doesn't mean domination, it means independence, less reliance on US markets, more control of critical industries, and the ability to withstand Western pressure. For the US, winning meant forcing China to change its economic model, something that simply hasn't happened. China has used the last 7 years to climb the industrial ladder, from assembler to innovator. It's no longer the factory of the world. It's becoming the designer of the world. But this isn't a flawless victory. China faces its own vulnerabilities: a property crisis, demographic decline, and rising youth unemployment. Even so, it has managed to turn a US-led containment effort into a national transformation project. The US, meanwhile, faces a sobering realization: it can no longer simply order the global economy, it must compete in it. So where does this leave the world? And you? If you're a business owner, diversify. If you're a consumer, remember, trade wars don't just move factories, they move prices, jobs, and futures. And if you're watching as a student of history, understand this: we are witnessing the economic reordering of the 21st century. The trade war was never about tariffs. It was about who builds the future and who supplies it. And in that quiet race, China may already be a few steps ahead, because when power shifts, it doesn't announce itself. It just happens, trade route by trade route, deal by deal, factory by factory. If you found this analysis helpful, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because on Talk Maniac we don't chase headlines, we decode them. See you in the next one.